Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to be here today. I'm going to talk about, kind of focus in on this complete streets topic, as you might have guessed, within the public health issues that have been presented. And, you know, as we started out from Janet talking about the obesity epidemic, and we're seeing sort of that leveling off, several years ago in the course of conversation of trying to merge public health and planners and engineers into a conversation, I had a speaker named Mark Fenton throw out the challenge that we don't really have an obesity epidemic in this country. What we have is an epidemic of inactivity. And so I want to kind of show you and tell you a story this afternoon about why I agree with that. So if I push the right button, yes, okay. So a little bit about me. I'm a farm girl from Ohio. Life on the farm was about day-to-day activities, and that kept me physically active. Didn't really think about it, didn't think about how much work I was doing, but every chore there was lifting, hauling, carrying heavy stuff. And it kept you exhausted at the end of the day, primarily, and even our punishment was take a hoe and go to the bean field. You know, if I got into fights with my brothers, that's what we had to go do. So it was never about sitting still. Even, you know, if I did have some free time, my favorite non-farm, non-chore activities were riding bike, going for walks in the woods, going to explore the creek, which we weren't supposed to do, and playing on the railroad tracks, again, not supposed to do that. And my other favorite one was swinging on the rope in the barn and landing in the pile of hay. So lots of dangerous activities, but all fun and all about being physically active, right? So what do I do today? I sit at my desk, I eat lunch at my desk, I multitask, I'm on the phone, I'm looking at emails, I'm zoned out half the time. Anybody relate to this image? Am I the only one who sort of does this? Bad habit? Okay, I'm the only one, really? Okay, you're just not admitting it. Fine. I'll admit it for all of us. How many times do you find yourself here? And, you know, when I catch myself in those moments, you know, what I really am trying to think about and what I really stress and worry about is this. This is Hannah, who I met on a bike ride last year during Bike Week. And Hannah was out with her grandma, and we were doing a family bike ride on a trail because we had just opened a new piece of trail in our urban neighborhood that connected a community center into residential area. And she couldn't stop smiling. And I couldn't stop smiling because she was so excited to be out there on her bike with her grandma. And so what I think about when I'm here is really, you know, part of my job is to create the infrastructure to develop programs that encourage and support and get the behavior change that we all want to see happen. You know, we want to see, we talk a lot about living an active lifestyle, healthy eating, lots of really great buzzwords today, but how do you actually get that to come to life? Now, my previous life before being an urban planner, I was a social worker, so be warned. I get the understanding of behavior change and how you get people to change behavior, service delivery. So I'm going to ask you, it's the afternoon, we've been sitting for a while, you've had your lunch, so I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to stand up if you biked or walked to school when you were a child. Everybody up? Okay, ooh, this is good. Get up on your tippy toes, stretch. You know, this is good for us. Get up and stretch, get away from our desk, get away from the table. All right, now, remain standing only if your child, your grandchild, or a child in your life currently bikes or walks to school, Or if you bike or walk to work or errands. Anybody? Oh, all right. Have we lost? No, I got prizes for you. So if you currently, or your child or grandchild or child in your life, bikes or walks to school, remain standing. All right. We have prizes. Marina's going to hand them out. And if we run out, let me know. I've got a few more. Okay. So once she gets to you, you can sit down. Oh, our panelists. Excellent. Wow. I love this. That's excellent. You totally messed with my, data that there would be this many people in the room. So, fantastic. Yes. There are a lot of reasons why we no longer bike and work for transportation purposes. Some of which you've heard. But do any of you have schools that actually prohibit children from biking or walking because of where they're sited? Anybody know if you have those? We have them here in Kansas City. Not ashamed to admit our failings. Okay, we've got a couple hands went up. So how do we change that? How do we go about doing that? So one of the kind of first steps I always say is that education encouragement side. It's coming up with things like this, pencils, stickers, things that we created a program called the Active Living KC Initiative, a 3-year pilot program funded by the Healthcare Foundation of Greater Kansas City to look at how do we get children engaged in biking and walking in Kansas City in our neighborhoods that are challenged, that are stressed, that are not in our most walkable areas. So it was sort of a multi-pronged approach, multidisciplined, brought together Public Works, City Planning, the Health Department, the City Manager's Office, and Office of Environmental Quality all got involved. And things like this really we think, oh, what do those tchotchkes really mean? Things like the little gifts that were handed around, get people to start thinking about, well, what would it take for me to do that? And it gets children to start thinking about it. Once kids start thinking about it, what's the first thing they do? Ask mom and dad, can I ride to school, right? So one of the things we did as part of that grant was we discovered that none of our elementary schools in the school district we were working in, there were 8 elementary schools in this district, none had bike racks. So we said, well, if we provided it, would you let the kids bike to school? They're like, well, only one was hesitant, only one principal was hesitant, but we eventually won him over when the district superintendent said, yes, we're going to support this. But things that really do help to change behavior is that infrastructure investment. So you've got to have the education and encouragement programs, but without the bike racks, without sidewalks, friends that to join you, to go out, is really when we start to see those behavior changes. So what would you do here? How does this, can you see that slide? How does this encourage you to walk? If this were your choice, now this appears to be an elderly woman carrying a grocery bag. She's been shopping. There's no sidewalk, but that didn't stop her from doing what she needed to do, which was get to the store and get home. But how many of us would that stop? Now, clearly, she's not the only one doing it because there's a desire line here. And there are other people besides her walking this path every day. So, next slide. Where would you walk? In Kansas City, we call this a 2-lane unimproved road. That's engineering speak. It was a country road at one point. And now it's a secondary arterial road. Later in my slide, I'm going to show you how we've made improvements to this roadway. Where the sidewalk ends, not just a Shel Silverstein titled book. You know, the infrastructure we build needs to connect, because otherwise, where do you go? Where, you know, if you're walking out here, maybe there's a little bit of a shoulder or wide enough, you know, driveway apron, but does that get me up here to this intersection to whatever is over here? There's no sidewalks over here at all. What do? How do you make that choice when you're out walking? So you invited me to go exactly where here? Put in this beautiful crosswalk, it's beautifully marked. There's actually even, you know, a lovely yellow flashing signal here. On this building here is the Kemper Museum of Art. This building here is part of the Kansas City Art Institute. What do we got here? Solid curb line, no ramp. So am I supposed to go use the street to access this driveway apron? Is that really the choice we're asking people to make when they go out and walk to two of our major destinations? How about another one? So I need to activate this signal to get the pedestrian. I need to push a button to get the pedestrian signal. Otherwise, it never comes up. You will never get that lovely little walking person saying, it's okay to walk across the street. Here's the button you need to push. If you are in a wheelchair, can you do that? There's probably about 2.5 feet of grass here and about 2 feet of grass here. I don't know about you all, but my arms aren't that long. So again, these are the kinds of decisions that are being made when plans are reviewed, when our communities are designed and built, and we've created a lot of barriers. So I want you to do this little activity with me. Now promise me not to fall asleep, because I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. And I want you to think about where you live. What is your favorite place that you like to walk to, where you bike to? Can you see it? Does it exist? Do you have a favorite place that you like to go to bike and walk? Maybe it's a trail. Do you have to drive there? Or can you get there from the front door of your house? Are there improvements that are needed that would make it safer? Can you get across the street? Does it involve crossing more than 2 lanes of traffic? Or is it tree-lined? Is the traffic calm? You rarely see a car. You see people out walking on the sidewalk with their dogs. Children are playing. Those are the kinds of places that we all desire to have in our communities. You can open your eyes now. And so my challenge to all of us is, you know, what policies are needed at a local level, at a state level, and at a federal level that support that kind of a community being built? And what is our responsibility to ensure that the next 7 generations may live a healthy lifestyle, can live in that place that you see, that brings you, you know, joy and happiness, and a place where you like to go. So one of the things that I have been very fortunate to be able to do is to engage locally our elected officials, but also our state and federal politicians. Here we had the good fortune, Congressman Emanuel Cleaver, representative of Kansas City, invited his colleague, Earl Blumenauer from the city of Portland. And if anybody knows who Congressman Blumenauer is, you can't see it in this picture. Oh, yes, you can. He's always got a bike pin on his lapel. And he started something called the National Bike Caucus, where he invites his colleagues to join in and try and have a better understanding of the need for cycling infrastructure in our country, and has been instrumental in forming federal policies that help to establish safe routes to schools programs and help to fund some of the projects that you're going to see going forward because of the federal transportation bill. One of the great things that I loved about this opportunity was that Congressman Cleaver's staff called me up and said, Deb, so the congressman invited Earl Blumenauer to Kansas City, and they want to meet with, the bike community. Can you help me with that? And I'm like, well, sure, but what do they want to talk about? Well, I don't know. And I said, well, it's Congressman Blumenauer. He's going to want to ride. He's going to want to get out on a bike. So let's plan a bike ride. Can we get Congressman Cleaver on a bike? And they laughed at me. They're like, I doubt it. But you know what? He stepped up to the challenge. He said, yes, I'll get out on a bike. We got in touch with the B-Cycle folks, our bike share program, and they provided bikes, and a small group of people went on a trail bike ride with the leader of biking in my mind in the country, and our own Kansas City Congressman Cleaver on a bike ride. Now, for you who are elected officials in the room, has anybody in your community ever invited you on a bike ride? Yes. Really? Did you go? Yes? All right. Have you ever had a walking meeting with any of your constituents? Raise your hand. Yes. Oh, I like this group. You give me hope. All right. I think that's one of the greatest things we can do as individuals and as elected officials, is to really get out of our comfort zones and really see from the seat of a bike or from the soles of your feet walking in your communities what it's really like to navigate our communities. Some are better than others. So, local policies. Oh, that's nice. It's a big blank. Maybe, oh, Lord, didn't know that was going to do that. Okay, so there's lots of local policies, from plans to things like we have a green solutions policy, a river crossing policy. We have declared and set a goal to become a platinum bike-friendly community by 2020. We're only at bronze, and it's 2013. We got a long way to go. We have ordinances that have established committees. We have a climate protection plan. We have a trails plan. Zoning, we did an 80-year update to our zoning code. That was controversial. And of course, we have neighborhood area plans. We have a livable streets resolution, and we also have a major street plan. So I bring all of this up to talk about how oftentimes that state and federal policies get filtered down to the local level, and sometimes not always in ways we think of, through plans and policies, ordinances, and resolutions. That's how we start to make infrastructure changes and start to make philosophical changes within our organization that help us, I think, make better decisions and work across departments. Now, in Kansas City, we talk a lot about working in silos. We're very into our disciplines, and that's fantastic, but to a point, we got to a point where we became so isolated that, that's why you see some of this infrastructure. So one of the things that has evolved because of a lot of these policies is something as simple as adopting a bicycle-friendly grate over our sewers. This is important because so many of our drain grates, the front wheel of a bike will get caught in them. Once your wheel is caught, you do this wonderful acrobatic act over the front of your handlebars, and it is not a very fun experience. So having those all those levels of policies helps us to change infrastructure, like this. So in our new zoning code, we require bike parking for new development. And it's based on a ratio, a percentage of automobile parking spaces and by development type. So here is a brand new elementary school that didn't want to put in bike racks, but I really pushed them and said, no, really, it's a great idea. You need to do this. So they started with a couple. They're at 5 racks. And this was a typical day last summer, 48 bikes in that rack, and it grows every day. Grids versus cul-de-sacs. Wonderful discussion we're now having locally. Our new zoning code, you know, still allows this. And I'm challenged by this because if I want to walk to school, so if I live here, school is here, there's no physical way for me to do that unless I create my own path, right? Got to cut through people's backyards, there's no sidewalks. It forces me to go this very long, circuitous way around. Typically, it also forces me to be driven. Whereas if there was a grid system, I'm still in the middle here, I could easily walk, bike to school in this system. These kinds of decisions, our zoning codes, you know, impact how our communities get built. So in Kansas City, we were known as being the worst city for bicycling in the country in 2008. We were so bad that the BBC, and I kid you not, the BBC, 2 reporters out of London, England, tracked me down and said, "Why are you guys so bad? Why are you so far behind? We want to come hang out with you for a week. Show us why you're so bad." Embarrassing moment of my life, right? So we did. They came. I introduced them to the mayor, to the city manager, to bike advocates, to everybody across the board that I could think of, and they ended up doing a 30-minute story about how bad we are, how far behind we are, but they also saw the potential of where we could go if we just started to make some simple investments. So remember how I said earlier that picture, the 2-lane unimproved road? This is that same road. Doesn't look anything like it, does it? This was scheduled to have a 5-lane improvement. After much discussion, we got them down to 3 lanes with bike lanes, sidewalks on both sides of the street. I felt like it was the first victory towards a livable, complete street for Kansas City. This project started to change how our engineers saw what they were doing. Now, we're still fighting it, but we're making progress. This has become our standard versus the exception to the rule. We're stuck at 6 miles of bike lanes for about 15 years. We now have 26 bike lane miles, 10 miles of sharrows, 60 miles of share the road signs, 292 miles of signed bike routes. We finally have made some progress. Another piece, policy that's been instrumental in moving Kansas City forward, and this was our river crossing policy. I mentioned that earlier. We did both a local policy within KCMO, and then our MPO also put forward a regional river crossing policy because the Missouri River really is a major divider, north and south. And then as you go into Kansas, it creates even other issues over there for them. So we were able to get that policy, and because of that policy, we used that as leverage with the DOT to get 2 of their facilities with new, it's a barrier separated trail. So this is the Chouteau Bridge, and this is the Heart of America Bridge. And these 2 projects happened around the same time. Stimulus money was used to fund these projects, and we had record-breaking attendance at both of those opening days Actually, the week before this particular project, the brand new 6-lane bridge over the Missouri River for cars had 20 people in attendance, U.S. senators in attendance, but 20 people. We had over 200 people at this event and 17 speakers. 17. Anybody top that for an opening of a facility? 17 speakers. This issue was so near and dear to so many people, and once we finally achieved it, everybody wanted credit, and we gave it to them. Bike share. Whoops. Sorry, was pushing button as I was turning the page, wasn't I? Bike share is something that was mentioned earlier by Janet. You know, we launched it last year. It's been a wonderful public-private partnership with the city and a local advocacy organization. But we had to change our zoning code so that it would allow these within our public right-of-way and allow for the advertising signage that's part of that bike station system. Other ways in which we've been able to leverage federal funds and influence our policies, we made a connection with Indian Creek and the Blue River trails. We've made a concerted effort to make sure our trails connect to destinations. So this particular day, this is a trail that's connected to a school, and I want to ask folks, how many of you have ever participated in a health fair? Right? You go to little tables, you check stuff out, you bring things home. I really want to challenge, well, first let me ask you this. Anybody ever done a walk or a bike ride as part of a health fair that you've attended? Ooh, we have creative people here. Excellent. I really challenge you. Don't say yes to a health fair unless they've got some sort of physical activity going on. Because what's the point of sitting around collecting information if you don't get out and get active? You know, it's simple things like that that I think change things. And at first when I was invited to participate in this health fair, and I said, no, not unless we do a walk. I'm not sitting at a table for 4 hours. We'll do a walk. And we'll do a walk on this trail so that the parents and students know that this trail exists and that there's a connection to this school. Very well attended. So other things, International Walk to School Day, walking school bus programs. You know, without sidewalks, it's very difficult for kids to walk to school, even though we do have kids who walk in ditches and in roadways. Transportation corridors for cycling. You know, make sure that you make connections. This is a brand new project that is in design right now, and a portion of this road that's actually, this got overlaid earlier this spring with the Sharrows, but it's going to connect, for the first time ever, our downtown to our historic neighborhoods, to our arts district, and to our riverfront, and connected to Kansas cities, Kansas and Missouri. And all of this matters because if you build it, they truly will come. You know, we want to continue to encourage families to live an active lifestyle and have policies, our future leaders, those third graders, who, you know, this was a family I met who were out walking. We were doing counts, and, you know, these kids were just excited that they could be out walking with their mom. And, you know, this is who our policies impact, you know, and making sure that what we do positively changes the lives of those in our communities. And that's it. Thank you.